put it down, wonder back when it'll start. Oh, yeah, it started.
Yeah, it says 7 o'clock.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Creswell City Council meeting for May 9th, 2022. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's wonderful to see all of you there tonight. And you're welcome to come back anytime. So, tonight we begin with the public forum. Roberta, has anyone signed up to speak?
They have not.
They have not. Okay, this is your opportunity to speak. But since you didn't sign up, you don't get to. Okay, we go right on there to the mayor's report. And tonight we have a candidate for the vacant position on the Airport Commission. And I'm so excited that our candidate is here tonight. So right over here is Mr. Kyle Bushman. Kyle, thank you for applying for this position. And it is my privilege tonight to make the appointment of Kyle Bushman to the Airport Commission, and I'm looking to the City Council for consent for that appointment. All right. The council has given their consent. So Kyle, you are now appointed to the Airport Commission. Congratulations and thank you. Moving on to correspondence. There's no correspondence tonight. So now moving on to the consent calendar, where all items listed are considered routine and will be enacted by a single motion in the form listed. There's no separate discussion unless the councilor wishes to pull an item for correction. So council members, is there anything that needs to be pulled from the consent calendar tonight to be corrected or amended? If not, then I'm entertaining a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented. Councilor Prachu.
I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Do we have a second on the motion? Councilor Osborne.
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We move on to the administrative report. And we begin tonight with the Creswell First, Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we will start tonight with a presentation by Creswell First, which is a nonprofit organization here in Creswell making grants to other nonprofits. I think Steve Carmichael will start tonight.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you told me that you moved right along then.
Boy, we're moving along tonight for you.
Well, we'll slow you up a little bit. We have 3 speakers. And we do want to tell you what we've done with the money you give to Creswell First to distribute to the organizations that really help our citizens. So we thank you a lot for doing that. Not every city does, but lots of them do. I think we're the only foundation that helps, that's in a partnership with you. So I think that works pretty well for everybody. I'm Steve Carmichael. I'm the president of the organization. Don Hamburg is going to talk later. He's the vice president. Joel Higdon will also talk with you on our board. Jenny Donnelly and her husband Aaron are here. See, we have a cheering section. See, and Joe Walters joined our board a couple days ago, the last board meeting. So he's new to our board, and it's great to have him. Sue Liddell is on the board. She can't be here, and Tom Surface is traveling somewhere. I think he's on a cruise, but the rest of the board's here, so you get to meet us. I'm going to talk about 3 of the programs. The first is the Family Relief Nursery. We've talked about that before. We funded them for 4 years. It's a program that, it sounds like a relief nursery is like a child care program, and that's not really what it is. It's a program designed to prevent child abuse. And they work with families who come in voluntarily. They're not assigned to come in, but they come in voluntarily for the parents to learn some educational things to manage their kids. And the children, they're all preschool, learn how to be with other kids, how to follow instruction, and so on. Child abuse is such a difficult thing, and this program, that's one of many around the state, but this program really has demonstrated they reduce child abuse, and there's not anything much more important, I think. So that's a great program. They asked for $3,000 for outreach workers to go out and find families that are at high risk, explain to them what goes on. They have a Spanish-speaking person as one of those. So your dollars, the city dollars, support that. The next program is called the Intergenerational Reading Collaboration. I'm going to call it the IRC because I don't want to say that over and over, but it's a long name. It's a very simple program in a way. It's designed to get books into families that don't have books. And they gave us the statistic that 54% of the students in Crest Lane are in free and reduced lunch programs. We have a lot of families with not much income in Crestwell, and books are probably not at the highest list on their priorities, but what they do know from research that if kids have books that they like to read and want to read and learn to read well, they will do much better in school. And so it's simply a matter of getting books that the kids want into the family homes. They're going to try to develop, and I'm not sure if this has happened yet, but a book vending machine. They found some other communities with similar programs have a vending machine where the kids can look at all the books that are there and push a button and get a book that's then their book. And so the kids can pick out books that they really want to read. It has some kind of story that they're interested, take it home, read it with their parents. So we also funded that program for several years. So that's funded. Both of those are at $3,000, which is the maximum that you said we can donate to anybody. And the third one is it used to be called Women's Space, and now it's Hope and Safety Alliance. And that's, I think, a good change because women are not the only ones that are involved in domestic violence situations. There are some men that are victimized too, not in as great a number, but just as seriously. So when people are in a situation, and more are now because of the stress of the pandemic, people losing their job, home a lot, there's more conflict. And so when somebody's in a domestic violence situation, they need to get out of it. And the funds that the city provides can buy a motel room, transportation, some food, so they don't just hit the street. You know, they're at risk of being really damaged, and they need to get out of the home, and the funds allow them to do that. So another critical program. So those are the three that I wanted to present, and I guess we can have you ask any questions about any of them maybe once we're all done presenting. So Don.
Good evening. So the first one that I'd like to talk about tonight is the Crestwell Heritage Foundation. You all have had some input with them for over the years. It's the old schoolhouse and library. This year they applied for $3,000 as well, which was awarded. This year was to upgrade, to make the electrical system functional and safe. A little bit of both. And then also to bring up some of the plumbing to code and work on an adequate heating system. I know in the past years they've worked on an ADA accessibility, and I think also some restrooms and stuff. But this year was electrical system and and some more plumbing. And this is the 5th year that there's been some funding. Not every year is it full funding, but this year it was full funding for them. The second one was Community Food for Cresswell. So this next two are both ones that are at the Cobalt Center, so the city's already involved quite a bit with them. So the Food for Cresswell, this year, the food pantry, they requested funds to receive for recipe ingredients, packaging to distribute bulk foods, and supply containers to distribute weekly meals. In the commercial kitchen that's been established there, I think for the last couple of years and during the pandemic, they've been packaging meals to go for people. And so so containers is one of the things that was definitely needed. In 2021, they packaged 3,106 bags of food. And so this is the 6th year I've been supporting through these funds, at various levels. The last one for me to present is the Cresswell Clubhouse. It's also at the Cobalt Center. It's a local nonprofit youth development program. It's a lot of it's after school, I think on weekends as well, but they fill out after school time with supervised positive educational and rewarding programs. They provide club activities, group and individual tutoring, and homework assistance. There is a fee charged, but children on any kind of assistance have a reduced fee, and 53% of the children receive a scholarship. So it's a kind of a tapered structure there for fees. Anyway, the city provides low-cost lease to the Cobalt Center, and I think you probably all are familiar somewhat with what they have been doing there. So these operational funds, the cost that can, helping reduce the cost that for the families and for the children. And that was also $3,000 this year. And those are those three. And next, Joel's going to present the last three.
I appreciate you giving us a moment or two of your time tonight to let us come talk about and report on the good stuff that's happening with Cresswell First and with the funds and resources you're giving us. So I have 3 programs I'm talking about tonight. They happen to all be associated with the school district. I happen to work for the school district. I don't I'm directly involved with these 3 programs, but what I do see from these 3 programs is the results. And I think to a lot of effect you guys will too, or have seen the results and what happens in Cresswell. So the first one is Family Resource Center. This is one that we've funded before and have continued to fund over several years. It's a resource center that helps families with school-aged children, with giving them help with electricity, food, clothing, and also outreach, learning how to shop, how to sometimes a young family needs to learn how to clip coupons. I know it seems silly, but things like that. How do you survive? How do you balance a checkbook? Family Resource Center offers classes like that, and so this funding helps those programs, helps the program itself, it helps continue that mission of helping families. I think you're going to notice a theme. The 3 I'm talking about have a key word there. It's all families, and the families is the key, and it's students and families. Family support services at Crest Lane. This happens to be one that's near towards November and December, around the holidays. It's a tough time for families. It's a tough time for anybody, frankly. But it can be tough if you're financially strapped. And what this program does is help with those families, give them extra help during those tough times so they can have a decent holiday, a decent time when it's, everybody else is around having merriment and enjoying the time, and maybe they're just stressed because they can't make that bill. They can't make that electric payment. These funds help that. So your funds, your support's helping these families, and that's a good thing. And then the last one's a new one, and this is very similar to the Open Alliance. Thank you. I want to say Women's Space because that's the one we've known for such a long time. So this one came about because of conversations I had with counselors at the school, and then I brought it to the Cresswell First. But it also demonstrates how the Cresswell First board, my fellow board members, are such a caring group. And we presented the fact that we also often have kids who are in situations where there's abuse at home, abusive situation, and they have a small gap of time that they need to get out of the house before services can kick in. Services don't normally kick in right away. They can be hard. It it can take 24 hours for something to happen. If it's not a major incident, if you will. What these funds do is the counselor knows who those kids are and are able to help. Maybe it's just a meal for that night. Maybe it's one stay at a hotel until services kick in. And so these funds were new. It's a new grant that we funded, but it's a well-needed fund. And the counselors were really quite happy. All 3 buildings counselors were pretty excited that we were able to fund this. And I think it's going to help in the long run over a long period of time with students and families. But I wanted to just, you can read more of the details. I didn't want to read it word per word. I mean, if I was going to do that, I don't want to waste your time or mine. But point I wanted to speak more from the heart about what these things do. And with that, I want to share, though, that you know, Creswell is known as a friendly community, the friendly city, but I actually think we're a caring community, and this right here proves it. And it's not just the 3 I'm talking about, it's all the ones we've talked about. We're a caring community, but that starts with you guys, the leaders of this community. The fact that you trust us with this funds, that we're able to have a mechanism to grant out to these organizations who in turn touch so many lives of the Creswell community. All these funds stay within the Creswell community, by the way. They don't go outside of our community. But they impact real people. This is where boots hit the ground. I hope you take that away and realize this is where the boots hit the ground, but this is good. And this good started with you guys. And I'm just happy to be a part of extending that. And Creswell First has expanded. I mean, we don't really talk about that tonight because our report's specifically about what we do with the funds we get from you. But we've actually been able to get our own funds and continue to expand, and we're looking to expand. We talked about doing a scholarship this year. We're possibly going to do it next year, but my point is, and that's not going to be with your funds, it'll be with our funds, but we're expanding, we're growing. But we wouldn't have been able to do that because it all started with the city council and you guys deciding to do something with some money that you had and passing it on to us, that relationship that Steve talked about, to where we're able to help the community. So I just that's from the heart. I want to share with you guys and say thank you. And I hope you guys take that away and know that you're doing good in this community. And I think it's nice to know that we have a very caring community. Thank you. All right, I guess we can take some questions. Might go one answer questions. I might.
We'll come help you if you need it.
Okay, they'll help you if you need it.
Look at what's one, let's take it up.
Okay, council questions for Joel? Comments about what they're doing? Kevin?
So I noticed that the 19,000 that the city normally provides with the 3,000 multiplied out would have exceeded that. So you were able to achieve that this year with the carryover funds.
We did.
How did you wind up with carryover funds?
Yes.
In the past couple of years, we have not spent every dollar because we wanted to have some available if an emergency came up. And what happened? Pandemic hit. So this is the year that we decided we didn't need to carry over anything. We didn't really have enough. So that's what happened. We didn't set any more aside this year. We just used it all.
So it's almost kind of sets a little new bar in a way, though, because next year may not be as much for each organization unless that.
That's right, yeah. This is a tough year for a lot of the nonprofits because they can't do fundraising, couldn't in the pandemic, they can't hold an event for fundraising. And the needs go up when people are out of a job and stress is greater and all that. So funds have been down for them and the needs gone up, so we just had to use every dollar you gave us. And more, a little more.
Some of them weren't able to use all the funds and didn't apply all, and that's why some of the carryover is there too.
Yeah, I think that's important to note, is that anybody who asked last year got what they asked. So we didn't turn anybody down, we just happened to, Don's point is well made, is that we actually had some carryover because we were circumstantially be able to save a little bit, which we thought was important, but also the fact that all the organizations that asked for funds got it, and we had some money, we kept it, which helped us this year, which I hate to brag, but I think that speaks to our good fiscal sound.
Yeah,
I know this guy's fiscal sound, I don't know.
Okay, other questions? Mr. Clark?
Thank you.
Oh, you got more questions, Steve? Steve or Joel, whoever wants to handle it. Counselor Clark has a question here.
Well, first, I just want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing and the goodness that you are putting out and the care that you're putting out into our community. I think that is fantastic and noble, so thank you for that work. I guess I'm wondering, were there any organizations, because I feel like the need is always greater than what we have, and so are there any organizations out there that you weren't able to fund, or?
I really don't know. When we, in, I guess early December or late November, we send out an announcement to all of the organizations, but we tell them there's a $3,000 limit because that's what the city said. And so we funded all of the applications that we got. Now, whether some other people are saying for 3,000, you know, we need 10,000, so this won't work, or I don't know what's not there, what's out there, but everything that we received in an application, we were able to fund.
I think it's important too to note that this year, Hope Alliance didn't actually apply right away. And we actually reached out to them because we were concerned. We were like, are you guys flush? Are you guys okay? Would you like to apply? You have an opportunity, because we felt strongly about their mission and what they do. And so they did end up giving us a decent report and applied. So to your point, we actually took a little extra step and reached out to one of our previous grant and said, we didn't see your application. Did you miss, we don't want you to miss an opportunity. But that being said, things like tonight, the fact that we're being streamed helps organizations and entities know that they can apply. They need to know that, of course, it's for the Creswell community. That's what we're all about. But they can always apply, and we welcome that.
One of the other things we require also is that they report on the previous year. What did they do with the money? And Hope and Safety Alliance, they're going through a lot of change from Women's Space to the new name and so on. So we didn't have their report, so they had to do both of those things. And each one does. They have to report back and tell us how many were served and what happened and so on. Yes?
Will you be able to do fundraising this year?
Will we be able to do fundraising? Our major fundraising, I mean, people send us a check that we don't anticipate, but that just happens during the year because they learn of us and give us something. The main way that funds are distributed and earned from us, we have a program called One Stop Giving, and we send that out in early December. Say, here's a list of organizations. If you'd like to help people in Creswell, here's what you can send money to us. There's no overhead charge by us. We'll just send it to whoever you select. Some of and we get a fair amount of money that way from people in Creswell. Some of them name us as just do the best they can. You know the programs that are out there. Others select, the food pantry or whoever their favorite is. So that's our major other fundraising. Right now, we have a Finland project that you guys probably know about with runners coming into town, and so that's another resource that we are for people. We don't do direct fundraising for some projects, but we handle the money because people can make a financial donation and it's tax write-off. Give us the money, we'll pay the bills for them. So that's another way we work, where people they do give us money, but it's for a selected project.
Any other questions? Councilor Clark has another question.
I'm just very curious. So if there is any way that, I guess my question is, how can we best support your work?
Well, you do a great job by giving us the resources. And I suppose you're just in budget cycle right now. And it's, I guess, the last maybe 3 or 4 years, you've increased the amount by $1,000. During this particular time, it would be nice to have a little more because resources are hard to come by. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
I'm glad you asked. Let me bring out my list. No, I'm just kidding. I will say that actually that what you just spoke to is true, but the other part of it is just the fact that everybody has a sphere of influence. Everybody knows someone. We all know 5 or 6 people or 10 or more or what have you. But when you're having coffee with someone or if you're talking to someone and you're talking about some of the good things happening in Creswell, even just talking about those positive things, about what you see in these reports, what Creswell First is doing with the funds from the school, or excuse me, for the schools and all the different organizations, but the funds from the city. Talking about that is something you can do because that breeds goodwill, but also helps those people think, I have $10, I have $100, I'll donate to that organization. They're doing good things. And then just flat out asking about, are you interested in donating to Creswell First? And I think those are some areas that would be very helpful. Folks continuing to talk about those positive things, and we need positive things in our life, and this is one of those positive things that I think that's an easy talk, easy conversation to have around coffee, I'll tell you that.
Very good. Any other questions? Manager Amberg?
If someone wanted to donate to Creswell First, how would they do that?
We have a website called Creswell First, so they can go there and donate through that. I can give you our post office box number. It's real easy. Number 1, Creswell Post Office Box 1. I guess you could call the city probably and find out how to reach me or somebody on our board. Other thoughts?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
And I won't go into the story, but if you ever want to hear a story how we got Post Office Box 1, that's not the one we started with.
No, it's not.
But we had a good change of fortune to get it, and I'm not going to go down that story because I'm going to leave it with that tease. But it's not very often you get Post Office Box number 1, and we had the opportunity, so we took it.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you're covered also. Thank you very much to your committee. Thanks for coming tonight, and you can stay for the end of the meeting if you want. It won't be too terrible long. And thank you all for serving our community in this way. All right, the next item, well, we're back to the administrative report, so Manager Amber, take it away.
Thank you. The next item is the bills for April 2022, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have if you have any. Seeing no one coming forward, the next item is the Lane County Sheriff's Call for Service reports for April 2022 and the introduction of our new, soon-to-be new Sergeant May. And Sergeant Denham is here to handle that report.
Good evening.
I'll let you do the calls for service first, if you have anything.
Councilor Brochu.
I always have my traditional question, so now you can get used to this one. I always ask if there's any changes in our homeless or transient population. It's mainly just a way of kind of tracking trends and stuff, so.
We've had some people come through town and go out of town. So all the normal persons that are here. One of ours is off of the street, but we don't want her off of the street. We'd rather she wasn't mooching off of an elderly guy that is disabled, but we're working on that with APS. So we'll try to hopefully resolve that here in the next couple of weeks. But it's a concern that we have with one of our transients moves into somebody's space and starts taking advantage of them. Not quite to the elder abuse level yet, but it'll probably get there eventually. We did have one, I don't know, people probably saw him, he got a big shopping cart and had a bunch of stuff piled up. He doesn't have his shopping cart anymore because he left it at the gazebo across the street and Cliff made it go away. But he has a bus ticket in his pocket but hasn't used it yet. So we're hoping that he'll take advantage of the bus tickets that we have available to us through the city and go back to Eugene. But that's the only new person that we've had in town, and he's probably going to get pushed out pretty quick because the laundromat is complaining. And he likes to go in there and do things that are inappropriate. So, but other than that, we haven't had really any new new movement or anything like that. I think we towed off the one motorhome that was left behind by David and given to somebody else. We finally tagged it and I think it's gone now, so.
You find a place for his dog? That was.
The dog went to Green Hill
Oh.
and was rehomed up to, I can't remember if it was Portland or Seattle or somewhere up north. So that was kind of spearheaded by the Chronicle owners. So she kind of worked on that with David and trying to get the surrender of the dog and worked with Green Hill for them to take the dog. So without any cost to the city. Anything else?
Any other questions for Sergeant Denham?
Well, I can say that it's been a pleasure to work with all of you on this experiment of having a full-time sergeant and bringing it to 4 deputies. When I started here, there were 2 of us and a third of a sergeant. And so I appreciate all of the flexibility that you've given me to kind of do things and work with the city manager to make sure that we had things the way that we want to. And I know that Sergeant May here, this is Sergeant Todd May, he'll be taking over, and I know that he'll either make it better or keep it at least going the way that it is. So if you have any questions for him, feel free to pepper him.
All right, Sergeant May, welcome to Crestwell.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
How long have you been with the police department or in law
I've
enforcement?
been with the Lane County Sheriff's Office almost 13 years now.
13 years.
Scott's a good man, he's a good friend, he's a great cop, and he's gonna leave some big shoes to fill. So we'll jump right in.
Good. Well, welcome. Any questions anybody has for Sergeant May? Counselor Schiff.
Will you continue the coffee with a cop Saturday morning?
You know, I'm not familiar with it. We did something similar in Veneta while we were there with a meeting. It was productive. So if it's something that the community engages with, absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
And when I was splitting the 2 contracts before we went full-time, he joined me several times up in Veneta for the same thing. So even though I renamed it to Coffee with a Cop, after I stopped doing that, it's still, it's the same methodology. And it'll move around a little bit probably, some weekday evening things so that people that are out working and things like that on Saturdays can make it. But Saturday seems to be a good day for people, so. But we'll have almost 2 weeks of overlap where I can give him all of the stuff that I do.
10 years experience in 6 days.
Yeah.
Mind meld.
We got it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Just one question. When will be your first official day of assuming all duties and responsibilities?
Monday morning.
Monday morning.
We'll start a week and a half together.
Yeah. So he'll be here with me the 16th. My last day of being officially in Veneta will be the 24th.
Crestwell.
Or Crestwell, sorry.
It's the city of Crestwell.
I was just talking about Veneta, that's why. See where my brain goes. So the 24th of May will be the last day that I'm here in Crestwell, and the 25th I'm probably gonna hand off a bunch of stuff to him and go play before I do my final secure broadcast at the end of the day, so. And then if you want to come to the 31st at Harris Hall at 3 p.m., that's when they'll have the retirement ceremony up there with some refreshments and
It'll be cake.
there'll be cake. I can't remember what I asked them for. It was probably cake, maybe a cake and a pie, I don't know. I don't remember, it was 2 months ago. So, but we'll have an invitation out as soon as they send it to me. And I can forward that to the city, so.
Okay.
All right.
I probably won't make the cake, but thank you for your
see me around.
service here.
I'll drive by your house a few times. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next report is the city attorney's report. And you can see that we didn't use very much city attorney time in April, just the planning department and the airport. The next report we have is the code report, the code enforcement officer's report. There was a total of 19 code violations, 11 were proactive and 8 were complaint driven. You can see a photo of the basketball hoop that's in the right of way. The code enforcement officer is doing his best to try to educate people. He's not necessarily citing people right away for basketball court or basketball hoops in the right of way, but he is contacting them and making sure that they understand that those need to be removed out of the right of way so that pedestrians and cars can pass. If there's any questions on the code enforcement report, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Councilor Prochu.
So they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and the one below the basketball hoop there, that big sidewalk protrusion thing going on there. I was looking at my packet and I go, I know that spot. It's on my street. I can look out my window and see that. And so I was wondering, what exactly is the code violation with that? And then is it upon the property owner then to fix the sidewalk, or how does that work?
The sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner. This shows the vegetation that is just damaging the sidewalk. And the vegetation needs to be addressed.
I think there used to be a tree there. I remember looking at Google maps, and it showed a tree there at one time, so I think that's probably what's underneath that sidewalk. So, okay, cool. Just hope they take care of it.
Okay.
Well, I have a follow-up along the same line. So the other picture shows the vegetation, but it shows the sidewalk badly cracked in 2 spots. So when sidewalk breaks up, because there's a lot of sidewalk around Creswell breaking up, is that the responsibility of the homeowner?
Yes, it's the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. So whether that's a commercial property or a residential property, it's their responsibility to repair the sidewalk.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad I asked, because I've had a number of people ask me about that through the years, and I think I've given them the wrong answer.
Oh,
So now I have a better answer. Thank you.
okay. And then the last report is the building recap report. We seem to continue to maintain a high number of building permits that are being issued each month. And we've issued more building permits than we had expected and received more revenue than had been anticipated. So we're still growing and people are still doing work. And that concludes the administrative reports.
Okay, we move on to the council action items. First item is approving the contract for chip seal project of Emerald Parkway from Sierra Santa Fe. So this looks like it's Cliff.
Good evening, council. This item is being brought to you to receive council approval to enter into a contract with Sierra Santa Fe for chip seal road work of Emerald Parkway. The city of Cottage Grove and the city of Cresswell put together a joint bid package because the type of work that we're doing is the same for both cities. This allowed us to split the legal costs and advertising costs, so it was cost savings to both cities to be able to do this. We received only one bid, and it's from Sierra Santa Fe. The bid amount is $130,120. The timing of this item, the bid document has some legal obligations in it for both cities regarding dates of actions after the closing date of the bid. So presentation to council for bid award needed to happen prior to July 1. And the fiscal year budget adoption, to have time to execute all the legal obligations of the contract. Approval of the item tonight will only allow us to enter into the contract upon approval of the 22-23 budget. And upon adoption of the budget, then we can officially award the contract. But this process allows us to award contract work at an earlier date and allows the contractors to get to work earlier. They would like to start early in July, so we don't have to wait for another council meeting for approval. And so they can get that work started and not push it farther into late summer or early fall. So the approval will just allow us to go ahead and process the document once the budget is approved, because that's where the funding is coming from. It's from the 22-23 budget.
Okay, council members, do you have questions for Cliff? Councilor Shuck?
Have you worked with this contractor before? Is it concerning that they're the only ones that responded to the RFP?
We've had them do work for us before, and it's not surprising. They're actually the only contractor in the Northwest that does this work. You still have to do the official bidding process.
Councilor Clark?
In your presentation, you mentioned a total award amount of $130,000 and some change. And so I just wanted to clarify, is it $130,000 or $103,000?
It's $130,120.
Well, then I have a follow-up question, because in the invitation to bid, it says 103,000, two different spots.
I may have written that down wrong. Whatever that bid document says is the correct number.
Well, and that's what it says on this too.
Okay,
I think you just misspoke, is my guess.
okay.
Because it's consistent here. what I'm
Thanks for the
seeing.
correction.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
So council, is there any additional discussion? If not, I'm entertaining a motion. All right, I'm entertaining a motion on this item. Councilor Castillo.
Excuse me, and just to clarify, the 103, 120 is correct?
Yes, and that's what I see in the bid form as well, on page 8 of the bid form.
Okay, so I would move that the city council approve the city manager to enter into a contact with Sierra Santa Fe for a chip sealing project of Emerald Parkway in the amount of $120,000 to be awarded after adoption of 2022-2023 budget beginning July 1 of 2022.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilor Inman. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6B, authorization of the city manager to sign the WH Pacific Task Order Number 5 contract engineering services for the runway 1634 reconstruct medium intensity runway lights and navigational aid improvements phase 2 reconstruction. Jim Piper.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. Just like the previous agenda item, this is to award the contract. The actual expenditures will happen in fiscal year 22-23. And this will allow the city manager to execute all those documents with your approval of this budget.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Piper? I guess all the questions have been answered.
All right.
All right, council, any discussion? If not, then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6B. Councilor Inman.
Yes, I'll make the motion. So I move that the City Council authorize City Manager Michelle Amberg to sign the WH Pacific Task Order Number 5 contract for the runway 16-34 reconstruct Merrill, which is the medium intense runway lights, and the NAVAT, the National Aid Improvements Phase 2 reconstruction.
Now we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Castillo. All right, any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item C, this is to authorize the city manager to accept and sign the FAA, AIP, Connect Oregon, and CORE grants. Manager, oh, this looks like it's Jim Piper again.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. I'm filling in for Shelley tonight. She's not able to be here tonight. But again, this is just approval to allow the city manager to execute those documents for the runway overlay project. This portion of it is the FAA, AIP, Connect Oregon, and the CORE grants. This project's going to be 100% funded through those grant awards. And again, it won't be expended or started until fiscal year 22-23.
Hey, any questions for Mr. Piper? Okay, thank you. Council discussion. Councilor Clark.
I just wanted to point out that, again, how incredible this is, that, I mean, if you look at the financial considerations for this, the estimated cost of this project is $3.3 million, of which the city has obtained grants for this project. It's 100%, $3.3 million completely covered by grants, and I think that that's just incredible.
The only comment I want to make was reading over a little bit of the history. Pavement installed in '84 with a life expectancy of 20 years, and we have been able to maintain it for additional 17 years. So maybe one reason why it's taken so long is because $3.3 million is a lot of money to come up with. So, but I always keep in mind with the airport that that's our emergency operations center. And so we need to maintain that. Okay, any other council discussion or comments? If not, I'm entertaining a motion on item 6C. Councilor Shuck.
I move that the City Council authorize City Manager Michelle Amber to complete the FAA, AIP, Connect Oregon, and CORE grant paperwork associated with the funding and completion of the runway 16-34 reconstruct, MIRL, and NAVAID improvements, Phase 2 reconstruction.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Clark. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6D. This is a public hearing and a recommendation to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for 2022-23 liquor license renewals. Roberta Tharp.
So this is the annual renewal process for the liquor licenses for fiscal year 22-23. Sergeant Denham has reviewed the list and his recommendation for approval is in your council packet.
So in conjunction with this, we have a public hearing, but I also want to just, excuse me, note to the council that we received in our packet this letter that was sent to Roberta Tharp, the renewal notification process that talks about our options of do nothing or recommend denial, and the reasons on the back that would allow us to deny or restrict the license. We've all got a copy of that as well. So I believe at this point we go right into the public hearing. The City Council is holding a public hearing to receive public comments and testimony on the governing body's recommendation to either approve or deny the renewal of annual liquor licenses for the fiscal year 2022-23. The public hearing on the approval or denial of annual liquor license renewals for the City of Creswell for fiscal year 2022-23 is now open. So we wish to hear from anyone who is interested in commenting on the annual liquor license renewals. The City Council is required to provide OLCC with a signed approval or denial of liquor licenses. Unfavorable recommendations must be based on the grounds referenced in Oregon Administrative Rule 845-005-0308, parentheses 3. So, Roberta, do people need to sign up if they want to give public testimony?
I did not receive any.
Okay, so is there anyone here who wishes to come and give testimony to the council? Has there been any written testimony?
I have not received written testimony either.
Okay, as per our habit, we will keep this part open for 1 minute to give you an alternate option if you want to speak. If not, then we will close the public hearing. All right, that's our 1 minute. So council, before us tonight, we have the renewals, which contain a list of 20 liquor license renewals. Michelle, Manager Amber, I did have one question. The Motel 8 we recently issued a license for the Motel 8, correct? What used to be the Motel 8.
What was issued was a license for the owners of TJ's to open to have a liquor license in the old Super 8 motel.
And I don't see them on the list here, or is that?
Maybe Roberta knows. They may be doing a business under a different name.
So what we did was we approved for them to get a license, and I believe that they didn't ever turn it into OLCC. So they haven't received their license yet.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. So we have before us the list of 20 organizations in Creswell businesses that are wishing to renew their licenses, and we have before us the letter from Sergeant Denham. So councilors, you may have any discussion about this item or ask Sergeant Denham any questions you would have, and then we need to make a decision. Council. Any discussion or questions? All right, then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6D. Councilor Inman.
So I move that the City Council recommend approving the 2022 2023 liquor license renewals as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Pratchu? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes with Councilor Shuck and, what's the right phrase for that? Opposed. There we have it. All right. We move on to item number E. This is resolution 2022-05, appropriating materials and services within the airport fund. Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. City councilors. The motion you have before you is a amendment to the airport's fiscal year 21-22 budget. Essentially, we're asking for some gas money. We're pretty close. When Michelle and I looked at the budget and looked at where we projected in the year, we thought we were pretty close. And then she reminded me a few weeks back that we have this event, this emergency activity at the airport. We're going to have multiple agencies flying in, and we could end up depleting the gas out at the airport by everybody fueling up, which would be a good thing. We're not sure what those sales are going to be, so the recommendation is use the contingency to appropriate those funds, and of course, in either the near future or into fiscal year 22-23, we'll sell the fuel with a margin as usual.
All right. Council, questions for Mr. Piper? I had a couple of questions. First one was on page 1 on the resolution page. Under the agenda item summary, it says this resolution amends the fiscal year 2021-22 airport fund budget. And the next paragraph, background, the city of Creswell had appropriated $150,000 in the fiscal year 2020-21. Is that correct? Or
No, I'm sorry, Dave. That's Mayor Strang. That's a Scrivener's error. That should be 21-22.
okay. Then on the resolution page, just a couple of questions about the numbers to help make my understanding. So the amended appropriation was $211,780. The proposed changes to add $21,100 to that budget.
Correct.
Is that correct? Then I was a little confused over under loan payments. Amended appropriation $13,110. Proposed change 0. Approved revision $43,110. And I don't think that relates to what we're voting on, but I was just confused about those numbers.
No, that should read 43,110, and there should be 0 there.
But now that doesn't have anything to do with what we're voting on.
No,
Okay.
we're asking for an amendment.
And then the very bottom says proposed change $130,000.
Yeah, that should read 21-1. Yeah, I think we're going to have to adopt this as amended, and you're right, the interfund loan should read as amended appropriations $43,100. And in proposed change, that should read a total of $21,100. And then the approved revisions column looks correct.
So then under the proposed change at the very bottom, total appropriations should also read 21-1.
Correct.
Okay. That answers my question.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Piper? All right, I'm entertaining a motion on Resolution 2022-05. Councilor Brachu.
Do you just need that read as amended, or do you need the amendments included in the motion?
If you please state what you're amending.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I have that correct then. So the interfund loan, is that correct, is changing to 20, or, yeah, please remind me again what we're changing there. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I can make the motion correctly.
Sure. The interfund loan amended appropriations should read $43,100.
Okay, so 43,000. How much? 110?
110, yes, correct.
And then the total appropriations would be 21,100?
100.
Okay, those are the two changes?
Yes.
Okay. So I am going to move that the City Council approve Resolution 22-05 as amended, a resolution appropriating materials and services within the airport fund, with the amendment being that the amended, I'm sorry. Running years. So the appropriation, proposed change in the appropriations at the bottom is going to be 21,100, and then the interfund, I'm sorry. Do you have it there, Mary? The loan, the amended appropriation for the loan payments is 43,100. And then the amended total appropriations and under proposed change is 21,100. Is that what you need? Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Councilor Osborne.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6F. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution amending resolution number 2022-04. And this is in regarding to the duties of the Roads Ad Hoc Committee. They were assigned a charge of preparing a report that was to come to the City Council at the May 23rd work session. However, the committee is requesting an additional month to prepare the plan. Therefore, the amending resolution amends the timeline for presenting the report to June 27th work session.
Thank you. Any council question for Manager Amberg? All right, council, any discussion? Then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6F. Councilor Castillo.
I move that the City Council approve resolution number 2022-06, a resolution amending resolution number 2022-04 regarding the duties of the Roads Ad Hoc Committee.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Shuck. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us down to our upcoming meetings and events. So I have a question, Manager Amberg. Item C, where it says URA Budget Committee. Is that the Urban Renewal Agency?
That's correct.
And is that comprised only of the council?
No, that will be comprised of the council and the public members of the budget committee.
Okay, good. I just was curious about that. And then this Saturday, anything you want to tell us about Saturday's meeting?
It starts at 8:30. A continental breakfast will be provided with coffee and pastries, and a lunch will be provided, which will be sandwiches and chips and such like that. And it should be over by 3:30. So I hope as many of you are able can attend. This will be the time when City Council will be giving feedback directly to the consultant regarding the strategic plan.
Okay, very good. And we have lots of meetings coming up. So, council, I've been telling myself, just if I can just get through the first part of June, we'll get past budget, strategic planning, then we can breathe a big sigh of relief. And you've worked very hard for 6 months with lots and lots of meetings. So, thank you, and with that, we are adjourned.